Hello, this is Horror Studio One, and this is my unedited podcast. Hello, this is your host, Horror Studio One, and today we're going to be talking about a very unique topic in our unedited podcast. We're going to revisit one of the worst times on the internet. So if you guys don't know, I've never been to the deep web. There is what is known as the Cannibal Cafe. It is a cannibal forum, well, arguably the hugest cannibal forum on the internet. That was open from 1994 to the year 2002. Very interestingly, recently I was online discovering stuff, and I found an old archive of this website that was actually shut down in the year 2004 because of a very unique case that they had there. So what the Cannibal Forum was essentially, it was started as a fantasy website by, I think the guy's name was Loco, the person who made the website. He started as a fantasy site where people would talk about their fantasies of eating one another. Eventually turned into a forum where actual supposed cannibals would meet one another and talk about, oh, what's your age, what's your price, send me pics, DM me kind of thing. And this was back in 2002, so a lot of people thought this was just like, BS, fan fiction kind of stuff. Their descriptions were sometimes humorous on this internet. But eventually, of course, in the year 2002, there was a man named Armin Ways that essentially made a post about wanting a young 18 to 30-year-old male that he wanted to devour as his food. And then eventually found a dude who was actually 44. And then they went out together. And then went back to his home, and then he cut off the man's penis. I know this is quite graphic, but this is what we're talking about. He cut off the man's penis, and then he cooked it. It's actually quite funny. They describe it as like if they put sitcom music, it could be kind of as a sitcom because he's trying to cut off his penis. And then the man, of course, took a bunch of pills, and so he was completely like numb to the pain. He tried to cut off his penis, and it didn't work, so he had to get a bigger knife to do it. And eventually, they cooked the penis and ate it. Of course, the man eventually died, and he ended up storing his body for a little while, and then eventually was arrested for this incident. And the authorities were also contacted, and by 2004, the case was over. But the Cannibal Cafe, with the end of this site, also ended as well from the internet. Now, I myself, it's so weird. Like, I this is personal opinion from me. When I was a kid, I would make jokes about cannibalism all the time. And these were just jokes with my friends because I think I didn't really understand the extent of how bad the whole thing was. I essentially just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, I don't know, like not really cannibalism, but like, I when I was a kid, I like in like 11, 12, I would make really shitty jokes. And I think this was just one of the things I saw as like an interesting topic, kind of like the paranormal kind of stuff, But then eventually I watched a movie called Cannibal Holocaust. So for those that are also, if not slightly too intrigued by this topic, you can also watch that movie. It's quite nasty. It repulses people from this whole notion of it. But now looking back on it, it's like really just how crazy people can get to eat their own kind. People say that if you eat like people's meat or something, like something your body repulses it or something, like it's really strange. But if you even guys look at like YouTube videos and stuff, a lot of them have challenges where they like eat skin and stuff. I mean, if you literally eat your friend's dead skin, like just like a piece of their dead skin or like your friend's hair or something, you're in cannibalism. You're doing cannibalism because you're consuming another human being. But then wouldn't kissing be also cannibalism? I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like, if you're kissing somebody, you're kind of eating their saliva a little bit, right? I think I'm getting too cryptic. So if a kid cuts their hand and their mom sucks on their hand, is that cannibalism? Because they're drinking their blood? No, but I mean, just the whole idea of this cannibalism thing is quite absurd to me, in my personal opinion, my personal taste. But then it's also not surprising because, like, if there's many theorists like anarchists that believe in the idea that humanity is quite disgusting. Like humanity is like it shouldn't be this organized in our world. And on some level I do kind of see where they're coming from. Because the fact of a human being destroying another human being is not a it's not a new thing. Like even if you look at wars and all that kind of stuff, that happened all the freaking time. World War II, people didn't treat people like people. I think once the moment you don't treat that person like a person and as a object, then you're able to do whatever you want to them. But the sexual nature of the whole cannibalism thing and why Cannibal Cafe became such a huge, like it had like 1 million users. I mean, not users, but like 1 million, like, people that would go on it, during its time. And I think that's the sexual aspect of it is a huge thing in this whole thing, because I think that's like in our psyche and human psychology. Like, I'm not an expert, but I think that sex plays a big part in all of that kind of shit. We're talking about any kind of porn, any kind of fetish, all that kind of stuff. This cannibalism thing is a cannibalism fetish. That's why there's stuff like vor. I don't know if you guys know what that is. That's essentially cartoon drawings of cartoon animals eating other cartoon animals, or cartoon characters eating cartoon characters. And that's a fucking sexual fetish, bro. That is a sexual fetish. That is so weird. It's like the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Like, my friend told me about it in high school, and I like Googled it, and I'm like, oh my god, what is this? Like, like a Pokemon, the Lapras or something, was getting eaten because he was sick. Or it's like, this is really like twisted stuff, and it's a sexual perversion. Like, it's so strange. I feel the one reason that Cannibal Cafe was so successful, they have it, they like statistically, they said that most people that used that website were males for males, males for females. Females for males was very little, and females for females was almost like non-existent. It just shows, and I'm talking about the male psyche here, like the thing towards sex. I mean, for women, I think sex for them is more of like a bonding moment, like a nurturing thing, even, if you will. Like they love that person and they're affectionate towards them, so they want to be closer to them, and that's why that happens. Like, that's that's what I've come across and known. But men, on the other hand, like, fucking eating the person is nothing to do with love or affection. It's like domination. I feel that's the thing in the male psychology, is to sexually dominate. So even in like some weird songs I know that I've heard, like growing up in like China and stuff, they talk about like having the person being inside them. Like not like sexually. I mean like to eat them, to put that person in their stomach. So they're always a part of that person, or that person is always a part of them, can never leave them. I think that's like a really big thing that like men in general have towards this thing. And I think that's why places like Cannibal Cafe, and even today, I know there's like these kind of websites online that still prosper. Of course, not to the size of that, where a man, essentially murdered another man. That man was, like Armin Ways was put into prison for life imprisonment, for sure. Like, what he did was, it's quite horrific. I think he stored the guy in a bathtub for like the longest time, but before, the guy climbed out because of the amount of blood loss he was having from getting his dick cut off, and then he essentially died, and he just like started eating him and cooking him and stuff. Like, it's like insanely like disturbing. It's not like a moment of like one moment this happens, but like this is essentially, you're like doing this for a long-term period of time. So you guys can still find the Cannibal Cafe website if you guys want to take a look at it. It is disgusting. It is fucking sick. But if you guys, are like me, you guys will like to look at weird stuff, you guys can go on it. There is another section on it that's also very disturbing. I think it's been proven that this part of the website is fake, but there is a portion where they show women, and they refer to them as cattle. So essentially what's going on there is that these women are allegedly kidnapped or something, and they'll be sold to the buyer. Like, this is all deep web stuff, but you can find screenshots of this whole thing on Reddit. I saw it on Reddit. You just like search Reddit, and then you search Cannibal Cafe. You can go and find all this information, probably find Google Images screenshots of this whole thing. It's quite disturbing looking at some of these things. It's like, why would humanity be depraved in this moment? And this is fucking 2002. Like, this is not like, the times when like war was happening. Like on some level, when you know back in the day when, let's say, then like they're not trying to go too deep, but like when the Nazis they got, you know, Jewish people, or when the Japanese in Asia, you know, captured the Chinese people and they made them into slaves. You know, a lot of the women became, you know, what's known as comfort women. They were made into sort of sex slaves for these soldiers, right? And I mean that, I'm not saying it's right, but like in that is a depraved part of history, you know, where people were not treating people like people. They were just treating them like animals, like property, like fucking dirt, right? So in those moments, if those things happen, it's like, man, yeah, that's bad. But also he just cut like a guy's head off like 2 minutes ago. Like everything was bad in those days. It was a dark period of time. So shit like that, like it would make sense for shit like that to happen. But in 2002, it's like, what's even going on in that person's life? That's like he's like an engineer. He's not like a person going to war and conquering someone's land and just killing everyone, right? With a sword. Like, it's not like that. So I don't know how humanity got to that point. It's just like, for me, again, it's the sexual perversion of that whole thing. Of that's made websites like that very popular, especially in the early days of the internet. I'm guessing before Google, and then before there was a lot of censoring and stuff like that, where you can find everything just on the internet somehow with just links and stuff. So, but yeah, definitely if you guys are interested in this whole topic, for me, I just look at it from an analytical point of view. Again, like I don't agree or disagree. I think it's fucking weird, to be honest, to do the whole thing, but it's not like I'm very intrigued by it. I just like it to look at it as a third person, a person outside of this whole situation, and looking at it as if we would look at history. So anyways, guys, that's just a little bit about the Cannibal Cafe. I've been just reading up on it lately, so I just want to share with you guys. We're doing more podcast even after. Man, I'm stuttering so much today. Sorry, I just woke up. So I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.